I get asked quite regularly, what is the easiest way to learn to code? What is the quickest way as well? What is the quick wins? How can you suddenly become a quick developer? And how can you get jobs really, really quickly? This is something that lots of people ask. People just want to find the quickest win, right? The quickest way in. And it isn't like that. With programming, it really isn't. Learning to code is all about how to learn to fail, and fail well. Coding is all about how one can come back from failure very, very quickly and efficiently. When you write your first line of code, it probably won't be correct, or you'll probably change it, you'll probably remove it, and you'll replace it with something else. So learning to code is all about how one can learn to fail, and fail extremely well. There seems to be this really weird negative thing with failure. Failure seems to be one of these dirty words, a taboo word, if you will, that you get something wrong. But in actual fact, it's how you come back from failure. That is the thing that matters the most. And you may have heard the mantra of fail fast and fail first. It basically means that if you come out with a piece of software, you want to test that software quickly and ensure that it is doing exactly what is needed to be done, and because you're failing quickly, it means that you can do several iterations quickly. And that's the same all the way down to the granular level of just simply writing code and trying things out. At the start it's extremely frustrating, but then you start to learn how to use that frustration in a way of developing your skills and learning what you do right and what you do wrong. And this may sound very contradictory, right? But every time you fail in coding, every time you do something that is wrong, you're actually going forward. You're not going backwards, because you're discovering what doesn't work and what does work. So you're discovering all the things that doesn't work, and you're remembering those, and you'll never do those again. Same with learning the syntax. You'll remember the error codes that come out when you actually do something wrong. So you'll be able to discover those failures later on when you get the same error codes, right? So you'll be able to identify problems a lot easier. And the more times you make these mistakes right at the start, the better developer you'll become, because you'll be aware of the implications of those issues. You'll be able to discover and identify certain areas in the log files, and you'll be able to distinguish those things and go, yes, I reckon it's this part of the application. If you were to copy a book, a programming book, line by line, all the code in that book, would you learn coding? Or would you learn how each of those characters are represented in that book? Well, you're not going to learn coding. You're just copying and pasting. That isn't teaching you anything. What you need to do is discover for yourself how things actually work. And this is why I say that people shouldn't be tempted to use so many frameworks right at the start of their web development career or web development study, right? You shouldn't just jump on the bandwagon and go, I've heard Vue.js or React or Bootstrap or whatever are great tools and utilities, and therefore I'm going to use those. What you want to try and do is discover for yourself what it is that makes those things work, the actual mechanics behind those libraries and those frameworks. I've always said that everybody needs to develop their own framework first and then use someone else's, because when you're using someone else's, you're not actually learning how the mechanics of that framework works, right? Yes, you can read books about it and so on and so forth, but until you actually go ahead and write your own framework, you're not actually going to discover and come up with the challenges that the author of that framework had, and therefore you're not going to carry his same experiences. In short, there isn't really a quick, easy idiot's guide to coding. There isn't like a coding for dummies. You have to just make mistakes and learn through those mistakes. And the thing is, the code that you write today will not be the code that you use in a good few years' time. And that's the same for any kind of developer. It doesn't matter if you're a junior developer, it doesn't matter if you're a senior developer. Code and the technology that creates that code or uses that code changes all of the time. And so the things that work today might not be working tomorrow. Also, the things that you put in place today might not be what is required for the system in, say, 3 months' time, right? And so you might have to remove things that you've done before. And by doing that, you're improving the system. You're removing things and you're updating things and you're changing the way the system works based on the requirements that you have and the changing requirements over time. So it's not just a case of the impact that you have as a coder, but it's also the impact that the rest of the system has, the implications upon that system. That system will evolve and change, and you as a developer will also do so at the same time. And I've been there, right? With programming, it's one of those things that sometimes the smallest mistake just takes the whole system down. You can spend hours and hours and hours just searching for a single colon in the wrong place. But once you've discovered that, you probably won't be making that mistake anytime soon, because you've learnt that it's all to do with muscle memory. The more mistakes you make, the more you actually develop as a programmer. And this is a really weird concept for programming and coding, that failure is actually an improving thing. It's an improving cycle. A lot of these industries you don't want to fail at, right? So you don't want to be a failure when it comes to working in a shop, for instance, but you do when you're actually coding and being a programmer. And this may all sound rather weird. I mean, why would anybody want to fail at something? But actually it's how you improve your skill set in coding, by making mistakes and remembering what those mistakes are, remembering how you solved those mistakes, which means that you can identify those mistakes quickly later on. And it also helps you to work out where you can actually investigate and look for these things, right? So knowing where the log files are, knowing where certain areas of the system is, learning the user journey. How did that user get into that state at that time? Coding is not easy, and there really isn't any kind of easy quick wins that I can give you. But if you found this interesting, if you found this video helpful, then do subscribe, give it a like. Thanks ever so much for watching. Happy coding, everyone. I'll see you again soon. Cheers. Bye.